Okay, so welcome back to Currency Cloud's Superhero Spotlight series. On this episode, I'm delighted to have Alex Torbay, who is president, co-founder of Keewe. Alex, welcome to the show. Excuse me, welcome to the show.
Hi, Richard. Thanks for having us. Thanks.
So, listen, let's get straight into it. Why don't you talk about kind of Keewe? I think it's quite apt for us in terms of superhero series, and the old analogy that not all superhero wear capes, but I think at Keewe you're wearing a couple of capes, right? Because you're looking at the SMEs who are traditionally kind of underserved by banks in this space, but also you are kind of fanatical, have a passion around kind of climate change and carbon footprint. So why don't you give us your quick elevator pitch on Keewe?
Yeah, exactly. We like to say that we're at least wearing two capes, right? Two angles. So when we introduce Keewe, we like to say that when it comes to Keewe, it's about change. Okay, we are the first financial services platform that helps SMEs to start their low carbon transitions through their international payments and FX transactions. So what that means is we have detected two weaknesses when it comes to serving SMEs. First, on the financial part, they're being charged a lot of fees, not transparent rates on their FX transactions, right? So they're underserved on the international payments area. And then you have the other area, the second cape, which is a critical, maybe a vital matter for the whole human species. For all businesses, it's climate change. There is an emergency on that, and SMEs, of course, they have their parts. They must play a role because they account for around 15% of, in France, the total France carbon footprint, but they don't have as many resources as large caps have, skills, expertise, or financial resources to engage into this transition. So we're trying to help them on both topics.
And I think it's right to say that France are on a mission to have kind of carbon neutrality over the next 30 years. I think it's by 2050. But what is it that kind of led you into this space? I know your background. You have some background and have been trained in kind of climate change, and that's what you're bringing to Keewe. But where was the gap in the market? Because a lot of I guess neobanks, challenger banks, kind of look at your first point in terms of that underserved either consumer or in your case the SME, but where does that kind of carbon footprint angle come in? Where's that born from?
Yeah, as you said, I have this financial background, but when I took a few steps back and I went to consulting, I realized the coming challenge for every business, and it's very critical for SMEs, it's climate change, because regulations, because consumer behavior, even people, associates, behavior is going to change, and that could jeopardize a business survival. So this is an issue they need to tackle. Absolutely. And for now, some of SMEs are not that aware of what is at risk for their own business.
And obviously that's where you come in. So let's talk about where kind of Keewe sit in that. So it's both awareness, but also I believe you have programs in terms of giving back to some of your SMEs, sharing and kind of revenues. So you're saying, listen, not only are we ethical around this, but we really want to help you, and we're going to commit from a commercial lens some of our margins to making this happen.
Yeah, exactly correct. So we're saying, okay, we're going to provide you with a lot of a wide range of financial services for the international payments, FX transactions, and we're going to take out of our revenues a share that we're giving back to our clients so that they can start their low carbon transition, so they can assess their own carbon footprints. We've developed a high standard carbon footprint emission tool, calculator, and then we provide them with services or goods that are going to help them reduce their carbon emissions. And then we're also helping them to promote their commitment, right? Because it's key. It's like if they spend money, if they spend time engaging into the transition, we think they deserve to use that to as a value, as a key asset to win new markets, right? So we want to incentivize them to go into this transition, and we assist them in this journey.
And so is that then the link between, I guess, Forex, payments, and an SME's carbon footprint? Because on paper, it doesn't look like there's a link there, but can you speak Am I right in thinking that that's the link? It's that giving back from a revenue perspective.
Exactly, that's the link. This is what we call this concept of giving back a share of our revenue. We call that the planet dividend or the Earth dividend. Okay, and that's the link. And why is that link? It's because when it comes to international trade, that makes up around 50% of global carbon emissions. So obviously, when you're sourcing your product, your raw materials from Asia, you can feel that the production out there, the freighting, like the transportation from there to maybe the UK, it's you have a huge carbon footprint, right? You can sense that. So we are like, okay, you have to do these financial transactions. Let's do it. We're going to take out a share of maybe the revenues we make on that to help you reduce this carbon footprint.
And how's that been received by your target market, the audience? Because you said at the beginning that I guess large corporates will probably have this somewhere in their priorities. Either they're forced to by the market or by shareholders, or because they generally want to and recognise that. But an SME, perhaps not so much. So how is A, how are you positioning this, and B, how is that the market kind of taken to this?
You're absolutely right. The large caps, the very big corporates, they have their own departments dedicated to carbon transition, ESG matters. But for an SME, it's a more it's like they don't have the financial resources, they lack the skills and the expertise, and they're less aware of this whole carbon footprint measurement and everything. We know, like in France, around 15% of them, of the SMEs, do like a carbon footprint assessment, for instance, right? Whereas large corporates, they have like, it's compulsory for them. They must do it by law, right? So we're telling them, beware, it's a very critical topic for your business. It's not only something about loving the planet and, a hippie thing. It's like critical to your business. We want to help you. We know you lack the resources, so we want to help you and incentivize you to go through this journey.
Perfect. So the need is, I guess, there, but it's actually putting that into action. And actually, I guess what Keewe are doing is just making it easy to do that.
Yeah, we want to, because when you don't have the skills and you first hear about a carbon footprint assessment, you're like, oh, that sounds like a very big issue. I don't know, like, how do you calculate, what is even a carbon footprint? So we help them navigate through the waves of the carbon, jargon and vocabulary, and we provide the tool, we assist them. We're like, okay, let's do the carbon footprint assessment together. We have this great digital tool. We're going to help you go through it, answer the questions. If you don't have the documents, we're going to help you. We're going to tell you where to get the data. But don't forget, it's very important for you to start with this accurate assessment, and then you can start the rest of the journey. So we're assisting them in every step of their low carbon transition journey.
And if we go back kind of 18 months, I guess pre-pandemic, I think for a lot of companies, kind of corporate social responsibility, carbon footprint was probably quite high on people's agenda, at least a lot of people. And we can talk to that certainly ourselves. Then pandemic happens, and kind of carbon footprint for a lot of people, especially in terms of kind of travel, just drops down. What happens when it starts to go up? And then we were talking about this earlier very briefly, but as the graph starts to go up again, do you think people become more aware of this, or how are Keewe kind of viewing that kind of as we emerge again into kind of some sense of normality?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, because I remember during the first lockdown here in France, we were having all these conversations about how things will change, but once for all, and we'll be consuming very differently, traveling differently. And of course, it's not this radical. It doesn't change. It doesn't shift this fast, but we notice, even when we talk with some travel agencies, which are our clients or people we know, they're like, of course, people they want to go back to traveling, right? Because they like that. But then you have a share, like a really important, significant share of their clients who are like, okay, maybe this year I'm going to go to a much closer country to discover in a new way the countries that are very nearby. And of course, that's not the whole part of it. You also have the people who still want to go very far away. They've been constrained and restricted to stay at home, right, for a year and a half. So they want to go back to traveling very far. And for those people, you still have to help them, like to not to educate, but to give them the tools to understand what is the impact of their lifestyle. And we don't want to say you're good, you're doing good, you're doing bad, right? That's not the spirit of Keewe. We're just providing them with the tools to assess, to understand their impact, and they choose to do whatever they want. Anyways, you know that regulatory pressure is tightening around clients, around everything. So you better know from now and start, to define your strategy.
So listen, I think it's super interesting when we have customers who are solving kind of obviously real world problems. The other side of your business is you're solving customer problems in terms of that kind of the underserved in terms of international payments, Forex for SMEs. Perhaps we can talk very, very briefly on that, because Keewe is not just a kind of philanthropic, ethical business. You've got something behind you, which is obviously the banking side. So maybe we can touch very briefly on that and what you do from that perspective, and what the rest of the kind of the year looks like in terms of kind of product launches and where you are.
Yeah, of course. You've said it very, very precisely. I think at the beginning of our conversation, we know SMEs are most of the time underserved. Traditional banks apply high fees. SMEs cannot negotiate the rate of their FX transactions, so you don't really know when a payment is made, when it's going to arrive at to the beneficiaries' accounts. So we're helping them to approach this issue of international payments very easily, right? With a very smooth and quick onboarding. When you're a new client, you have all this KYC, all the documentations, and we want to abide with that, right? We need to do it, but let's try to do it very smoothly, right? So that it's not only a hurdle to business, it's also something that you're like, okay, it's cool, it's quick. And then you have all the technology now that is available, multi-currency accounts, international payments that go very swiftly, transparent FX transactions with a rate that you can actually, check with maybe another provider, and you're like, okay, those guys I work with, they're giving me a fair price. Of course, they want to make money, they earn their money and they work, and they deserve to get what they earn, but I don't feel like they're hurting my business because they're just hiding all fees and rates and everything. So we really want to make that easy.
And I'm guessing, sorry to jump in now, I'm guessing part of that transparency, which is something we obviously buy into, the added layer of transparency there is going back to the carbon footprint kind of initiative, is you're saying, listen, effectively, this is what your rate is. We're very transparent with our revenues, but we're also transparent in terms of exactly the contribution we're going to be making on your behalf back into that climate initiative.
Yeah, exactly. I think I think we're going to hire you to pitch Keewe, because that's it. Like, you cannot be like, try to be the good guy. Let's do your low carbon transition. And on the other side, when it comes to financial services, you just charge the highest fees, and you don't you provide no transparency, right? So those two capes, to take your words, they go together. If we're transparent on the fees, we're transparent for the client on the share of revenues we're going to give back. So when he has the cash back for the carbon transition, he knows what margin we took, right? What revenues we made. But that's all right, because he knows, we know, and we go forward, and it's okay. It's on a mutually beneficial relationship.
Yeah, you're right. It's a good point, because it's pointless saying, if you were just on the carbon footprint side and said, listen, we're the good guys, we're going to contribute something based on the margins that we take you. By the way, we take 500 basis points, but we're not telling you that, then it completely eradicates that message. So I think it's great.
Correct. Yeah.
So listen, Alex, we're just about up on time, but I wanted to say, listen, I really enjoyed the conversation. I really enjoy when I talk to customers who not only, as I said, are solving kind of customer problems, but also looking at that on a kind of macro, kind of real world basis. So I commend you and the team at Keewe for doing that. There's been plenty of questions that we haven't got a chance to come to, but I'm sure they'll come to you directly. But on that note, where can people learn more about Keewe and what you're doing, or if they want to reach out to you directly?
Yes, of course, they can reach out to us. We have our landing page. I'll post the address, I think, as a comment, but they can reach out to us at www.keewe, so KEEWE.eu, and we'll touch base if they want. We'll be glad to answer the questions, of course.
Fantastic. Listen, great having you on, and looking forward to seeing your progress over the rest of this year and beyond. Alex from Keewe, thanks again.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.